Greetings to all new and veteran warriors alike. Welcome back to the channel. It's been quite a long while since I last made a video, but the last set of videos that I did make were regarding the testing grounds back in December. Today we have a title update coming to the game that involves two of the characters seen in the testing grounds, those being Peacekeeper and Nobushi. Also, we will be getting a change to the way target switching works, now to be called target cycling, so let's cover that first before we get into the hero changes. I'm going to be showcasing the developer's footage to help explain the changes to target cycling. When attempting to switch targets, the game will swap between whatever targets that are within lock-on range are closest to you. This is of course how the game has worked up until this point. With the new update, you'll be able to cycle through all available targets that are within range of lock-on. This is done by switching targets as you normally do, however it is time sensitive, so cycling targets like this only has a 250 millisecond window. After waiting for 250 milliseconds, attempting to switch targets again will revert back to targeting the closest opponent to you within range of your lock-on. This is a very welcome feature being added to the game. We've all been in that scenario where one of our opponents has a slither of health, but manages to escape because you could not target them in the midst of a team fight. This will no doubt take a little time to get used to, but it certainly adds to the game. I can't help but wonder though, as to why this wasn't assigned to a button prompt. Now if you use mouse and keyboard or have remapped your buttons, then by all means feel free to ignore me, but I play with the default button mapping on controller. Now R3 or clicking in the right stick only has a function when not locked on. It recenters the camera, a feature I have never used. So why not have it cycle through targets when locked on? Players are already always hovering over the right stick anyway so that they can guard. It feels like a missed opportunity, but until I can test it for myself, I'm not going to know how good the new system feels. Regardless though, I welcome its inclusion. Moving on, let's talk about Nobushi.
Victory! Round 3.
First of all, my apologies, there will not be any Nobushi footage in this video. I tried to get pre-patch Nobushi content for the video, but in all honesty, I have never enjoyed For Honor less than using pre-patch Nobushi in Dominion. So my hat off to you Nobushi mains, you have way more patience than I do. So, in an earlier video, I reviewed Nobushi's testing grounds changes. I will leave the link to the video in the description if you want an analysis on those. However, to summarise, Nobushi's changes were that Hidden Stance had a reduced stamina cost for zone attack had been reduced, heavy finishes and heavy attacks from Hidden Stance were now undodgeable, Cobra Strike and Sidewinder could now chain into heavy finisher, and zone attack's second hit could now soft feint into dodge, kick or heavy finisher. All of this was done to improve Nobushi's combatability and make her kit flow better.
Round 4.
All of these changes have made it to the live game, with one more change being added. The results of the survey had stated that Nobushi's kick was still reactable, thus nullifying the mix-up. As a result, the kick has been made less reactable. So this is good news for Nobushi players. Having played the character today, I know all too well how bad the kick was before patch. I don't know just yet to what degree the kick will be sped up, but I'm assuming somewhere between 66 and 100 milliseconds. This should, in all honesty, give Nobushi a true mix-up. However, I still feel like the character doesn't have enough. The testing grounds had a goal in mind, and one of those goals was to make characters viable for tournament level play. I feel like Nobushi still falls quite short of that mark.
Round 1.
Some problems I noted have yet to be addressed, and I do wonder if they'll ever be considered. The second swing of Nobushi's zone had very little reason to be used normally, and post-testing ground changes this hasn't been changed. Making it unblockable would go quite a way to fixing this, and baiting reactions during teamfights to give more weight to her soft feints. The other big issue is her out of lock attacks. Her heavies by default are side and then to the top, which makes Nobushi quite ill-suited to clearing the mid lane. The devs did state that they wanted Nobushi to fill a similar role to Kensei, so for this I would advocate making her out of lock heavies both side attacks. Combined with the added undodgeable property, Nobushi will have greater success clearing out soldiers and contribute more effectively to her team. Anyhow, that's all I've got to say regarding Nobushi. Let's talk about Peacekeeper.
Defeat. Round 2.
For those who have followed my channel for a while, it's no surprise that Peacekeeper is my favourite hero in this game, and I've had quite a lot to say about her in the past. I also reviewed Peacekeeper's changes in the testing grounds, so should you want my analysis on the changes, the video will be linked in the description. However, I will briefly summarise what changed in the testing grounds in this video. All of Peacekeeper's heavy attacks had their damage increased by 5 points. Her bleed damage was left unchanged. When locked onto a bleeding opponent, heavy finishes and the second swing of zone attack became unblockable. Zone attack is now enhanced and gives a heavy parry reaction when parried. Zone attack second hit now soft feints into guard break and dodge, as well as dagger cancel. Dagger cancel can now cancel its recovery with a dodge, and the deflect input is now a heavy attack instead of a light attack. Most of these changes are making into the live game. In fact, all of them are with one specific exception. The results of the survey noted that Peacekeeper's heavy attack damage was too high, so it was brought down. We don't have actual values yet until we can test it in game for ourselves. Also, a dagger cancel when landing will now be frame advantage just like Shaman's, so it can be a good pressure tool.
Round 4.
So, first things first, dagger cancel, frame advantage, hallelujah. So happy this change has come, sorely needed, and there was no justification for it to be disadvantaged. On the other side of things, heavy attack damage being reduced, unbelievably bad change, to the point where I'd argue that it's a fundamentally stupid change. Peacekeeper struggles to land killing blows and to execute her opponents. Her buffed heavy attack damage rectified this issue. Her damage was indeed too high, yes, but that's because her bleed values were not adjusted. I've said it so many times already in multiple videos, but take 5 points of damage from her bleed and give it to her heavies. This stops her damage from being too high, while letting her confirm more kills easily. It baffles me that her bleed damage remains unchanged. Triple guard break punish hasn't been mentioned, so likely still remains too high of a number. The deflect input being changed is negligible. People will adjust even if I disagree with the change personally. It feels like a change that's catered to rewarding accidents instead of promoting intentional play. The unblockable options certainly help Peacekeeper's soft feint options. Don't get me wrong, I welcome the buffs and I'm not going to turn them down, but I remind you that the testing grounds had a goal of making characters viable for tournament level play, and Peacekeeper is not going to be viable with these changes. I'm convinced at this point that the developers are dead set on having Peacekeeper be a bleed dependent hero, so something else here needs to change, and that is how healing interacts with bleeding. Healing is very common in Dominion, and that's not even counting Griffin, who not only has all the tools to be a viable tournament pick, but also came packing 3 area of effect healing feats. While ever healing can cleanse bleed damage, Peacekeeper will not work at a tournament level, as all of her best pressure tools are locked behind that prerequisite of bleeding her opponent. So yes, these changes without question make Peacekeeper a stronger hero, but it's not enough and she needed to be considered for longer before being released. Outside of those glaring issues though, Peacekeeper also has a little difficulty regarding a fixed dodge attack timing and poor chain options. A simple heavy light heavy chain and variable input window on our dodge attacks would go a long way into making her a much more reliable hero. This new chain option could be achieved by removing deep gouge from heavy openers. Not only would this give Peacekeeper another way to access her 400 milliseconds chain lights, but this would also make her chain options less predictable. This would also force PK players to select their guard break punishers carefully, take the heavy and get chain pressure, or perform stabs to ensure a bleed. This is the kind of depth that Peacekeeper is capable of if given the right tools and consideration. However, if we can sort out this bleed being cleansed by healing, you might have an assassin that you can bring to a tournament, but until then, she's unfortunately a better hero, but still unfinished. Now, I understand that I've just gone on quite the rant there, and I do apologise. I don't want anyone to think that I'm ungrateful for the changes, or I'm having a go at the developers, because that's not my intention at all. I realise they work incredibly hard on this game, and I appreciate the dedication they have into making it the best game it can be. And I'm not a tournament level player, believe me I know because I've fought them. All I'm trying to do is offer insight into issues that I feel have not been considered when implementing these updates. At the end of the day, we want all heroes to be viable, and Peacekeeper is a character I feel I know what is best for. That might make me sound arrogant, and should that be the case, so be it. But I will fight tooth and nail for every hero in this game to be tournament viable, and I hope with this video, come the next testing grounds, you will all too. Well, I've got all I need to say off my chest, so I will leave you with the rest of the footage. Thank you to everyone for being incredibly patient with me and my lack of uploads to the channel. I needed some time to deal with a lot of personal issues, and in terms of For Honor, I'm having to use controllers that are, for lack of a better word, malfunctioning until I can afford to invest in an Elite. With the title update having dropped though, I'm looking at making some more content, and I'm toying with the idea of making a Discord server. If that sounds good to you, I'd love to hear ideas and suggestions, as I'd like to make it a comfortable space for everyone to enjoy games and conversation there. Anyhow, as usual, I have talked for long enough. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. And hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. Thank you again. Ciao for now!
Defeat. Round 5.